I know that yesterday's coding exercise was a little bit intense. If you didn't follow along, that was where we built out a full baseball scoreboard application, and it was one of the longest coding exercises of the entire year. So with that in mind, I want to give you a little bit of an easier one today, and what we're going to do is refactor this Heredoc. Now, if you are not familiar with what a Heredoc is, essentially what it is it's Ruby's type of tool for allowing you to create multi-line strings. So right here you can see that we have a multi-line string, and it's using the basic Heredoc syntax, which is two of these less than symbols, or you could say two shovels, and then a dash followed by three letters. In this case, it's three letters. And then you have to tell Ruby when it ends. Now, EOL is a very standard name, but you could say anything. You know, you could say content and then content. And now if I ran this, so if I ran Ruby March 14th, then this is going to run. Now, one thing that you may have noticed here is this is a little bit weird. We have all of this extra space here on the left-hand side, and that's what this guide is all about. And this was this came from a great question from a student, and she asked me why it was that the Heredoc syntax had that ugly kind of having to be flushed against the left-hand side kind of syntax. So if I come back, I'll show you what you'd need if you wanted to not have those lines there, and you'd have to do something kind of like this. And I've done this in previous guides, where you line up all of the content flush with the left-hand side. And this can look a little bit weird, but if you come and run this code, you'll see that now it's actually working, and we don't have those weird spaces on the left-hand side. But if you don't want to do that, because if you have the rest of your code in this really nice indented format, and then you come to a multi-line string that is all the way butted up flush against the method right here, that is going to be really ugly. And it gets even worse when you have, say, all of this inside of a Rails application and this is nested in a class, because then all of the content is butted all the way up in the file, even to the left of the method definition. Definitely not something that looks very nice. Now, for years, that was your only option in Ruby. You had to do something like that. But now, in more modern versions, I believe it started in 2.2 or 2.3, we have what is called the Squiggly Heredoc. And the Squiggly Heredoc is pretty much the exact same as before, but instead of a dash, it has this squiggly line. And now what we can do is we can indent this just like we had at the beginning. And so it matches all the rest of our content and our method definitions and all of the other code in our app. But now watch what happens if I run this. So now if I run it and say March 14th and run this code, you can see here on the left-hand side that this does not have those weird, annoying spaces there at the left. So this is working perfectly. And now if we want to run our code, or we want to run the test, so I'm going to run March 14th. If I run this now, you can see we have one example and we have no failures. And it printed out those words just because I had it like that. If you run it again now, then it won't print those out, and it's simply going to print out our one test that is now passing. So this one is a little bit different. It was less about, figuring out an algorithm and working through a problem, and is more about telling you about a more modern way that you can use multi-line strings in Ruby.